We're back. Number 4 of 6 for the MNCAA season recaps. You can already see Veech like kind of grinning, kind of grimacing, like anxious, excited, maybe got a couple beers in him. And we're just going to open up with some fun, Veech. Like, give me 1 or 2 sentences tops. What was this season for the Bulldogs?
This doesn't count as one of my 2 sentences because this is a clarifying sentence, but asking me to keep it to 2 sentences is an insane thing to do. I love
We
going
will
on my little
expand
rant
beyond it later. Jesus.
2 sentences, season recap. Went in with hope. I'm trying to count my words here. Went in with hope.
I never gave you a word limit. It's just got to be a
I
real
know.
sentence. Like if you turn a sentence into a paragraph, no.
Yeah, went in with hope, came out devastated is wrong. That's not the correct way of representing how I or most of the fan base feels. But it was a bit of another down year, even more so than we kind of expected it to be. But there were some shining moments in there that kind of gives you hope. And then you look to the future, which we will get into way later, but that, makes you excited again for the upcoming season. It's not like you're recycling the entire team again here. But it was good, fun hockey at times, as it always seems to be with UMD.
Okay, and we're not going deep on this because I think you and I, on like at least 5 different occasions already, have gotten into beers and like had way too much fun on this topic. But
Yeah.
what do you want more? A Frozen 4 bid for the Bulldogs or like back-to-back or three-peat at the state tourney for Hermantown?
Well, I already know I'm getting one of those, so if I'm gonna say that I'm gonna get one or the
Really?
other.
I don't know. How many has Hermantown won recently? I don't know.
But we've already had back-to-back before, so give me another Frozen 4 berth for UMD
Yeah,
because I
dude,
know
and
for a
the New
fact.
York Islanders are still talking about winning 4 in a row.
I still think that's not as bad as the Yankees talking about 20 whatever rings. Like
Yeah,
most
right.
of those were before color TV or the moon landing. Like what are we doing here?
We landed on the moon.
Yeah. Yeah, give me UMD Frozen 4 bid, because that guarantees, there's gonna be more Hermantown kids playing at the X again anyway, because there's always a good contingent of those guys that are playing for the Bulldogs. And that's kind of their dream growing up. I know it was everybody that I knew or grew up with was their dream to play the with the exception of 1 or 2 guys that knew that their cap was high school. They just wanted to have some fun out there. But yeah, everybody that thought that they were going somewhere wanted to go down the hill and play for the Dogs and see how far they could take it. So I'm glad to see that it's continuing, and there's good steady pipeline of talent going from Hermantown down to UMD.
It's funny. The talent goes from Duluth to Hermantown, Hermantown to Duluth. It's just never ending. All right. We're not going to go there.
No. You can't just get away with that. Give me examples here.
We're not. I disavowed. I'll remove.
Perfect.
Strike it from the records. We'll save that
Let
for
the
next
record show that I am an undefeated attorney.
But sir, how fluent are you in bird law?
Not
I
at all.
challenge you, sir, to a duel. Anyone that doesn't know Always Sunny is going to think that I'm an idiot. Well, they probably think it regardless. All right. I'll give you unlimited sentences now. Like, talk me through the ups and downs of the season, start to finish. Like,
yeah.
What were the highs? What were the lows? What did we watch transpire this year?
Yeah, we'll take it from the top here. Stop me if there's anything that you really want to expand on. But overall record, 12, 20, and 5, like a 425, just above that. I think that would be as far as win percentage, including ties, as a point in there as well. But not great. But it wasn't always like that. Starting off the season, 2 ties in a row. It's like everybody says, it's like kissing your half sister or whatever that saying is. It's not a great way to go, but then you rip off 3 wins in a row after that, and you start out 3-0-2, and you're like, okay, well, it took a minute to get our wheels rolling here, but it's a good building block to go off of. So there was hope built up early there. We were seeing a lot of high scoring games in those first couple as well. They were putting up 5-4, 8-5, and the first one was 2 points, but like a lot more points than you normally see out of a UMD team. And you're like, oh, maybe this is the year that they kind of figured the scoring out, because it's always been, a bit of a battle for UMD in terms of getting pucks in the net there. So seeing those high numbers, not necessarily against the best of competition in Tech, Northern Michigan, Bemidji, but against solid. They're not a Stonehill. They're not
Yeah.
nobodies that are out there. They've got decent programs. So seeing those goals in there, it was a step in the right direction that a lot of people were really looking for. They're used to winning games, 3-2, 2-1, or hard fought battles, especially in the NCHC. But if they were going to get anywhere near that kind of scoring the rest of the year, it seemed like it was going to be a lot easier to win. But that didn't necessarily last long at all. In fact, right after that, they did not win a game. Technically, ties don't count, or shootouts don't count outside of the conference as far as wins go. So they didn't win a game in their next 8 games, and that was an insane, month-long run that kind of put a real damper on the season. And that was against Cornell, lost both of those in regulation.
Good team.
Minnesota
Good
lost, lost, tie with a shootout win. North Dakota lost
don't
both of those.
exist, but
Right. Well, no,
North Dakota,
semantics.
who depending on, I guess I don't know the schedule well enough, and I don't know when you played them, but depending on when it was in the year, like they were either really good or actually pretty suspect. So
They were decent. I mean,
they're
they
in the
were
transition from
yeah.
suspect to good. Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then the last one, they got swept by St. Cloud State. Both of those were 1-goal games as well, and a lot of these were really really close games there. They just couldn't figure out a way to win them, or a way to win them. So, going late October through mid November without a win on the schedule, and there was a bye in there as well, so it made it seem like it was even longer. Um, was a tough kick in the nuts as far as UMD fans go. But you knew every one of those teams was going to be a threat. I think every one of them finished in the top 16 of the pairwise, and St. Cloud was 16, and we'll get to a little bit more on that later as well. But every one of those teams was a contender all year long in terms of being in the top 20, or on the verge of that as far as rankings go. And we saw Cornell in the national tournament, Minnesota, North Dakota, like they were all good teams. So those losses, you always want to win, but like losing a close game to any one of those teams still doesn't make you feel like your all hope is lost, despite the fact a terrible run and your team just can't figure out a way to win. It's against good teams. So it was, there was no confidence gained. We'll say it didn't necessarily set you back a ton, but there was no confidence gained in those ones, and that's where it came up to Omaha and Miami for their next 2 series there. Would love to see 4 wins in the win column. You get back into the 500 talk, or in that range anyway for the season. But that didn't happen either. Omaha was a much better team than we or anybody really gave them credit for, as evidenced by how they kind of finished the season out there. But split with them on the road, and then Miami, who, if we're being totally honest, UMD should have absolutely beaten, just like every NCHC team should have beaten them this year, or last year. I always want to say this year. I feel like we're still in it. We're not.
Yeah.
But they come away with a tie and a win there, which it's not the end of the world, but not the points that you need, especially against an opponent that you're certainly more than capable of beating at that time. So you go into the holiday break at that point, and not again, you weren't able to get the momentum that you wanted coming off of 2 winnable series there. And then you've got a big opportunity against Northeastern, which again, not necessarily a top of the line team, but somebody that's well respected. They've got NHL talent on their team. They've got a really good record historically. And they beat them, as far as, if you're going to go period by period, they beat them. UMD dominated them in shots. They dominated the time of possession. They dominated the entire game. They just lost it. They went, I don't know if that one went into overtime or if it was a late loss, but regardless, they lost that in the Quick Trip holiday face-off. Quick Trip, my favorite, gas station brand because I'm a true Midwesterner.
Yeah. The only thing I like about Wisconsin.
Well, I mean, the Dells can be fun, but yeah, I mean, it's probably one of the very few redeeming qualities. Cheese curds, great export. I'll take those all day long as well.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, it was a rough one. Not to get the win there. They win against Air Force. Yeah, well, that's a good point.
Which, I mean, shout out. I'm almost done with mine because I was drinking it while we talked for far too long before we recorded. But Chaz Michaels at Barrel Theory, they crush it. It's so good. That's why it's also going down quicker than normal.
Anything that you could have said, any name of any beer from Barrel Theory, and it would be incredible. But from what I hear, that one is top tier decision.
I definitely lean Shooter McGavin over Chaz Michaels, but both are great.
Interesting. Okay.
Shooter McGavin is they've got other beers that definitely pop and hit different moods. But if I'm going to pick one that I can have for the rest of my life from Barrel Theory, it's probably going to be the Shooter McGavin.
Okay. See, I grew up as a I grew up as a young adult that liked the sours.
Years old, and sour beers are awesome.
I grew up on that sour trend as a true millennial.
Sure.
So any one of the sours that they make there have always been great, but I have recently gotten, the last 4 or 5 years, I guess, gotten into.
And that's after COVID. There's no timeline that exists.
No, it's not.
You could tell me it was a week ago. You could tell me it was a decade ago, and it all sounds the same.
Yeah, agreed. We all died in 2016. This is an alternate universe anyway, based on everything I read online. So,
all right. So that's
yes, tangent there. Anything Barrel Theory makes great. Their IPA is way better than most other ones you're gonna find in the market.
Crush.
If we're getting back on track here, following the holiday face-off, they get an exhibition game against what's going to be a big news story in the future here. St. Thomas. They end up losing in that game. They didn't play, most of their starters. They gave a goalie that never got any real chances, a lot of skating time, but they lost that game pretty handily. I mean, it's 3-1, but not that they were in it really from the beginning.
We're going to pause.
Didn't have it. Yeah.
Pause. Thoughts? St. Thomas going to be coming in and be the Minnesota Daddies of the NCHC.
Okay, well, let's chill out with that. There's quite a long ways to go. One, welcome to the NCHC. It's going to be a rude awakening, I think, from having a CCHA schedule full of some subpar and sub 500 teams to having to play week in and week out. Yeah. I'm not going to say Duluth is going to be the ones that you have to worry about. I'm not delusional. Maybe they will. We'll see. But
okay, there, just a touch of delusion.
Just a touch. If history has anything to say about it, there's going to be 4 or 5 NCHC teams that are, above 500 for sure, but also in that, national tournament conversation, and probably 2 of them, if not 3 of them, that are national title contenders going into that tournament. So just a different level that they're going to have to play up to. And I think they will be up to it, especially by that time, because I think it's not until 26, 27 or 25, 26.
Whenever 26, 27. Yeah. Which I'm sure will coincide with the rink being ready.
Exactly.
Going to be out of the bands. But to your point though, I don't remember if it was 7 or 8 years ago. Cause again, since COVID, my whole calendar is just fucked. But I went to one of the earlier Frozen face-offs at the X, and dude, I'm telling you, it was Duluth, St. Cloud, the Fighting Hawks of North Dakota, and Denver, and all 4 were top 10 teams in the country. And I got in for fucking $40 a person, lower bowl. That was a fun 2 days of hockey. That was a great time.
Yes.
Now, we got a couple of angles we got to cover here for St. Thomas. From the St. Thomas perspective, largely awesome for them.
Oh, incredible.
With the exception of, like you said, it is going to be a wake-up call. There's no doubt about that. But they've already shown, like, they have come a long way, and they have progressed quicker than even the people that
way
were
faster
high on them. Like, even the people that said, like, hey, this team is going to be coming. Like, even they're like, holy shit, this is fast.
Yes.
I mean, any negatives from the St. Thomas perspective, like any reason that a St. Thomas fan should be like, maybe this is a little too quick?
So it's hard to say, because if it doesn't come until 26, 27, I don't know that they're going to face the same problems that they are next year in the near future. Like they are still growing. They are still working on getting, some of the recruiting. And they're doing a great job at that. They just, they don't have the same, and they never will. They're never going to have the Golden Gophers recruiting roster. They're never going to have the North Dakota recruiting roster. They're never going to have any of those teams recruitments, just because they don't have the history. And eventually they'll build a really solid program, really solid history, and they've got Minnesota's talent pool to draw from. A lot of these guys that want to remain and play against their friends at Minnesota or at UMD or at wherever, they can stay in state, get an incredible education at a fully funded tuition to a private school that has a lot of really good connections, and that's a huge draw for them as well. But it's just going to take time to do so. Will they be able to figure that out in the next 2 years here? I don't know, but if they continue, ascending at the rate that they have, I don't know that they finish dead last in the NCHC when they come in. Like I think they're going to have a really good step in the right direction there, and it's a lot more attractive than people think it is, in terms of they've only been in college hockey for 3 years, and by the time that they're around here, it's still going to be sub 10, but like they're going to be a well-respected university and a well-respected athletics program, not just hockey, but like if we're focusing on that, they'll be a top 25 team in the nation by the time that comes around, and they're jumping into the NCHC, and who knows where these other teams are at. I mean, we're seeing Omaha had an incredible year this year. Miami, new coach. We'll see how that pans out for them. UMD's got their standard waves in terms of when they produce and when they don't, and they're in the down cycle now. Maybe they're on their way back up with some of the recruits that we're going to talk about in a little bit here. But there's always Western Michigan is going to get a multi-million-dollar brand new facility out there. So who knows how many people that drives out there, and we don't know what the outfall of the changes in the college hockey landscape is going to be. There's talk about
my brain in a pretzel by flipping that around. The outfall.
Yeah.
Oh, I think
well.
All right. Continue.
Yeah. So this is just very, very long-winded way, shocker me, saying that, I think St. Thomas is going to be in the mix. What is going to be their, worry points? Losing their good recruits to some of these other local-ish schools that might want a bigger program or a bigger opportunity. So some people that have made the jump.
Combating it with this move, though. Like, all we've seen is that the CCHA flocks to the NCHC. So,
well, unless you're Minnesota State, who can't find their way in.
we got to go there, though. Now, you can either go the route of olive branch and empathy, or you can go for blood.
I'm going for blood, baby.
Immediately, the biggest topic was not, hey, good for St. Thomas. It's, what the fuck did Mankato have to do to get consideration for this? Like, we're talking about like a 6-year stretch with like 4 Frozen Four bids, made it to the Natty. Like, this is a team that was a perennial contender and never even was discussed as being a consideration for the NCHC. St. Thomas has one good year where they pop off and they're like, hey, we want you. Come here.
Here's the difference. One great year where they finished second, but near the top of a respected college hockey.
This year was not nearly as good as any of the Mankato years that I mentioned. Let's be honest. Like, can we be at least objective in that comment?
100%. We're talking about a Mankato team that made it to the national championship a very short time ago. A Mankato team that's been good for 8 years. I don't want to say a full decade, but
hate like their elders. Like, do they hate Denny's? Do they hate AARP? And is that why Mankato never stood a chance?
Well, I think it was more to do with money, and that's
Yeah.
there's teams in the
Uh,
NCHC that have been grandfathered in.
money and
Well, I'm waiting for your addition here.
location.
Well, yeah, Mankato,
NCHC wants a foothold in the Twin Cities, and Mankato is not
absolutely.
the Twin Cities.
No, it's not as close as it wants to be. I mean, I would argue St. Cloud isn't anywhere near the Twin Cities either, but
Well,
like they were
St.
already
Cloud
in.
might not be a college in 5 years, so like
I was gonna say that. I'm glad you beat me to it, but you're you're absolutely
Harvard of the
right about
Midwest, sir. Harvard of the Midwest.
yes.
And I do not say that with a grin like Veech would. Like, it's actually a bummer that like St. Cloud as a university is trending the wrong direction because like it is a storied program, but I'm sure Veech will be happy to be freed of the season opener and season ender with them perpetually.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to have the opportunity to go visit Arizona State in
Oh,
the later parts of the dark days of the winter here.
mm.
Now that they're a part of the NCHC as well, but we're just
Sick rank,
locked into
too.
St. Cloud. Yeah, I know.
Shit NHL rank, awesome college rank.
Great college rank, yeah.
Dude, if this was like the current state of Arizona State back when you and I were going to college,
Yeah.
I might have given it a look. That would have been fun.
100%.
I
I mean,
probably should have.
not that I would have been able to afford it, but yeah, like getting in isn't all that hard. And
Well, no, it's not hard to get in.
right.
Yeah, but all right. So Mankato, though, like, do their fans have a gripe here, or is it whining?
I think they do have a gripe based on resumes alone. They certainly were better or as good as most of the other teams that were in or still are in the NCHC at the time. A lot of it does come down to everything that does the rest of college hockey or the rest of the NCAA as a whole kind of revolves around that, and that is money. So all these different conferences want what's best for them and their TV deals and travel and everything else. And St. Cloud is a decent team to have in there. UMD is a decent team to have in there just from history alone. North Dakota can be lumped in there as well. Denver obviously lumped in there from a history standpoint. Colorado College has a rich history. So I don't know that Minnesota State has as long of a rich history. It's not one of those schools that you're bringing in there to have that lore around you. They were good for a long time recently. And
people are hammering their keyboard right now that you said Mankato State. I love it.
I know. I'm old enough to say that. Here's the thing. I'm old enough that I am allowed to say that. I grew up with it, and that's what just my brain defaults to. I understand and fully accept that it has changed. I'm going to slip up and say it.
For being as firm as you are on Bally over Bally's, I would think you of all people could appreciate it. Which, by the way, I'm with you.
Bally's was never the name. It never existed. Aldi's never existed. It's Bally. It's Aldi. It's
Aldi's is a bad one too. What else is there? Okay, the one that I will never get over, and anyone that follows me on Twitter knows this: resign versus resign, because they literally mean the opposite goddamn thing.
Correct.
If not for that, I'd get over it. I'd deal with it. Right.
Correct.
But literally taking away the hyphen gives it the opposite meaning. To re-sign is to re-up your contract and stay. To resign is to leave.
Correct. It
figure it out.
My mind.
Oh, but it's tough though. Like I do feel for the Mankato fans. Like that sucks. That really does suck. And do you think if they let's say like 2 or 3 years ago they get bumped into the NCHC? Do you think Hastings is gone?
Oh, I don't know, but if they kept up, it's hard to tell because like I don't know that they have the same success or as much success as they had in the CCHA. So because of that, maybe they would have given Scott Larson a longer look as far as that Wisconsin job goes, or some of these other coaches, and maybe
I don't even mean that. I mean, is he more inclined to want to stay too? Like,
probably, yeah. I mean, you get a lot more attention and respect in terms of hockey in the NCHC as you do in the CCHA, and the Big Ten is certainly a well-respected hockey conference, despite being one of the newest of the bunch. But the teams in there aren't new, so yeah. I mean, his contract and his decision came down to money, just the same way that St. Thomas being, welcomed in and invited, for that matter, into the NCHC comes down to money. So,
They had to be sold on it.
yeah,
they begged, and St. Thomas had to be begged.
well, I don't know that they had to be begged. It was more of like the same way that
blood, dude. I thought you were going for blood.
The seniors in the NCHC are inviting the freshmen St. Thomas to come to, the rager that they're going to, and St. Thomas eagerly accepted.
They just want to fuck with them. Got it. This is like
Yeah.
all employed to just like embarrass. Got it. Okay. That's actually fun. I can get on with that bit. All right, we got to get back on the Duluth track.
Yeah, sorry.
So a couple of players that did really well this year that we got to talk about. One, it actually goes to literally leading Team USA to a gold medal, and a guy that had a pretty dominant season all around. How do you not cheer for a guy like Isaac Howard?
I'm so mad at you right now. I cannot believe you're going here.
You looked.
Here's the thing.
You were actually like excited for where I was going.
When you said leading Team USA, I was like, "Well, Max Plant was on the national team development program." I'm at a loss for whereas UMD not represented on the World Junior stage this year.
Even Bemidji had a guy, dude.
Yeah, not for Team USA.
Huh?
Oh well, sorry, Luft. Sorry, I'm thinking of their other guy.
Oh, okay. But no, that I had to throw that one in as a curveball, and this other one's gonna sting too. But Ben Steeves, I mean,
yeah,
the guy can freaking play, and you're one of like very few people that I texted, but my kid was born December 28th, and the doctor who gave the epidural to my wife, Dr. Steeves. And at first, like they said it. They're like, "Oh, Dr. Steeves will be here soon." Like you think nothing of it, right? But then as soon as you see the name tag and there's 2 E's, Steeves, I'm like,
"Yep,
I think I know who you are." He's like, "Huh?" I didn't actually say it, but I'm like, yeah, hey, you got kids that play hockey?" He's like, looks up, he's like, "Yes." I'm like, I take it they've played beyond high school? He's like, "Yeah, yes, they have." I'm like, "Oh man, we got to talk." And he was actually really cool.
Was that actually his dad?
It was, yeah. No, he was just like being coy with it. Like you can tell he does not talk about it much.
Sure.
And like as soon as I got it out of him, like he actually was like pretty cool, like talking. But
very cool.
I just begged him, like, dude, whatever happened when your kids popped out of your wife, can you just like sprinkle the same dust on my kid quick? Like, whatever it is.
Yeah, I mean, losing a guy like, well, I'm going to touch on the Isaac Howard thing.
Okay.
The him leaving was not as much of a shock as people thought it would be. It did obviously hurt UMD's output this year, especially with the lack of center depth and just forward depth in general. But losing him was not as big of a shock when you have, a coach that grew up kind of guiding these kids and they saw a ton of success with him. They're going to want to go play for him when they can at the college level as well. I mean, we see it in the World Junior stage with Denver right now as well, and David Carl and a lot of the guys that were on that World Junior. I shouldn't say a lot. Some guys that were on that World Junior team want to make the jump and go play at Denver, and with a record and history and everything else that they've got there, on top of an incredible college location and
just say it's a sweet place to live.
Yeah, like there's so many attractive things about Denver that I don't blame anybody, but like you're gonna see people go to the coaches where they're having a ton of success with, and that's part of growing up in sports, and I'm not at all shocked by that. So I'm glad to see him succeeding. Yeah,
let's be fair too. Like some of that is the players choosing.
Correct.
I've got the indication. Last episode that we did for season recaps was with our boy Lucas covering Bemidji, and all indications are that Pole Camp, like, sure, like it's his decision, but was it really his decision, or was it San Jose being like, "Yo, dude, get the fuck over to Denver"?
Yeah, we want you to be taught by somebody who we think could actually be an NHL level head coach and learn a different scheme that better suits.
How do you say no? How do you say no?
You can't. Like
Like, yeah,
Bemidji
no,
is a great
screw you.
program.
I actually don't want to play with Will Smith and Macklin
Yeah.
Celebrini. So, no, I'll stay in Bemidji.
Yeah. And I don't think that Bemidji is a bad school. They've just had a guy win the cup with the Avalanche. So like,
Underrated rink too, dude. That's a
yeah.
cool rink. Oh, not just the Avalanche, dude. How about Vegas?
Well, yeah,
Dude,
There's no,
White Cloud is a dog.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with what you learn at a school like Bemidji. They've got like you were just mentioning, an incredible rink. It is a hockey focused program similar to UMD, just on a much smaller scale. I always equate it to, and people are going to laugh at this, but it is Madison, Wisconsin, but on a much smaller scale and a much more I don't want to say redneck either because that's a negative term, but like a much more country vibe up in Bemidji there. So
More rural. Yeah.
rural, yes, rural is probably
You're
the
real
word I
though.
was looking for.
If Phil Kessel grew up in Bemidji, he probably would have stayed there. Whereas Madison, he
Probably,
wanted to get out of there as fast as possible.
yeah. Like it's just a great university on a lake where you've got a ton
Fuck
of stuff
Wisconsin.
that's available to you. Well, yeah. Well, I know you're legally obligated to say that. As a college town, Madison is unbelievable.
Oh,
As a college, I hate them.
yeah, no, if you could remove everything about them and what they represent and just let me go out and party there, yeah, sure, Madison seems like a cool time.
Great spot to visit.
But I want to go to heaven. So
Yeah. Back to Ben Steeves, by far and away the biggest offseason loss for UMD. Without a doubt, I had delusions that he might stick around for junior year after seeing some of the people at the U stick around for junior years, or a little bit longer than they could have gotten out and gotten the pro deals. But I'm never going to fault a guy like that, especially that's had the success and been like the lone person that's had success on the team as far as scoring goes.
yeah.
So to see him go to Charlotte and get an opportunity with an organization like the Panthers, who are doing great for what it's worth. I'm never gonna talk poorly about that. I'm always gonna remember the good times, if you will, and just hope that he can be a good voice for UMD to others that might be looking for a university to join. So fingers crossed that he thought he had a good idea here, or good development here as well. Because if that's truly the case, then seeing him excel at that level is only going to be better for UMD, and using that as an attraction tool for other players that wanted to be just like him. So
Now,
yeah, I mean,
you are hurting that pipeline though with some of your just disrespectful posts on Twitter/X where you talk
elaborate.
where you talk about the incredible alums and giving the list of your best alums at each position and excluding one Alex Stalock, who is the only player in UMD history that has had a YouTube famed superfan group.
I think you're confusing the only famed superfan group with the only viral superfan group. So it's not that superfans didn't exist for Hunter Shepard, because 1A, I'm
YouTube?
present
Play
right
on
here.
YouTube?
If I need to put a video out, I will.
I love Shepard, but
Yeah.
until he has the Shepard super fans on YouTube, like it's not the same at all. Like that alone, I'm a Gopher fan through and through. I was lightly pulling for Duluth my freshman year of college purely because of the Stalock super fans.
Yeah, I mean, they were great. I mean, he was great. There's no doubt in my mind that team, would have had a much more opportunity had he stuck around for a little bit longer as well. But it was a similar thing where you take that, that hot streak that you're on in college with an opportunity to go jump in and get into these development programs and, these junior leagues, but pro leagues, we'll call it. I don't know what the correct polite term is. It's not semi-pro, because that's not true either. They're getting paid.
Oh, what a great movie, though.
I know, incredible movie. But I
think that is the most underrated and disrespected Will Ferrell film that's ever been created.
I'm not going to be a guy that defends Will Ferrell. I'm sorry. I know I'm in the minority of that camp as well. He runs around in his underwear in every movie, and it was funny the first 16 times I saw it. But it is.
When does he run around in his underwear in Anchorman?
I'll find a clip. I think one exists. I'll
I'm
find
not
one.
saying that there's not a single scene where he like exists in underwear, but like he's pretty. I don't know. Like the only thing that even comes close is where he gets the awkward erection, but he's wearing full pants. There's no underwear.
Yeah. I mean, he's in a robe quite frequently in that movie.
Wow, of all the things I thought we'd disagree on, I never thought it would be Will Ferrell. We need to move past this, or it's
Yeah.
gonna take the next hour. So we're
No,
just
I
gonna
know.
pretend that wasn't said. Continue.
But yeah, I mean, Ben Steeves losing him. You're losing. You can't be Alex Ovechkin because he works on the other side of the ice, but that's exactly what it was. I mean, on the power play, he was lethal. It was a one-time shot from the slot, just a mirror of Alex Ovechkin. He would kind of live there. He would do a lot more up top to set some of the plays up, but he got the same defensive treatment that Ovechkin gets as well, just obviously at the college level. So there's a little bit of a discrepancy in how tight some of that was. But
Does that say more about the team around Steeves that they could give him that kind of defensive attention, or is it truly that he was just that good? Like, where do you see the balance of that?
a little bit of both, because at the beginning of the year he was on such a hot streak. I think it was 9 games in a row where he had a point, and 7 of those had at least one goal. One of them had a natural hat trick in it. So it was like
Yeah.
it was a no-brainer to find him open in the slot. And then after that, you saw teams actively double teaming him, or heavily weighted to one side wherever he was, or you trying to get as many cheap shots as they could in, or whatever it took to just kind of eliminate him as a threat. So there was a much more concerted effort to take him out of the game, and it was largely effective. I mean, he still found his way to score, but it tailed off quite a bit at the end of the year there. I mean, he was near the top. I think it was top 2 in terms of scoring on the year, and he was 1 for power play goals on the year, I think, at the holiday break, and then fell off of that. And I don't even know if he finished in top 10, just with how the end of the season went there for him. But a great player when he's one of the only weapons that you've got, given the injuries and other stuff going on with the team. He was still able to produce very, very well, and that's why he got the opportunity he did. And that might have played into one of the reasons why he's leaving, is he didn't want to get be the main target for getting bullied and cross-checked and everything else out on the ice. And so going down and dealing with becoming the smallest player in Charlotte is not necessarily an easier route, but you're no longer the biggest threat on the team either. So you find a different way to develop, and a different level of talent to develop against. So I think he will do well. I think he does see NHL minutes at some point in time there. Florida is going to be running into some contract issues here in the near future. So
Weird, yeah.
yeah. So I can see an opening. I'm not guaranteeing that it's going to happen
Why
very
is it
quickly.
that the Florida teams, whenever they run into contract trouble, they get some kind of Minnesota college kid to come in and be their ELC savior? Like that
Yeah,
just
I
feels
mean,
like the recipe.
yeah. If it's working, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Hey, cheers.
Um,
And yeah,
but
to stay back.
of course, yeah. Well, you know what? I'll join in that. I do love him, so to stay alive. But as far as other, team leaders or points from last year, just kind of reviewing who they were and where they're going. Owen Gallatin was the next one on the team coming back here. 7 and 23, 30 total points. Not necessarily lighting the world on fire as far as the scoring threat goes, but great at finding other people and setting them up.
How many of those 23 went to Steeves?
I would have to check on that officially, but at least 4.
Oh, only
minimum.
4? 4 of 23 is pretty
God,
low.
more than that.
Okay, then why did you say 4?
Because I know for a fact there was 2 in one game, and I can think of at least
there was 2 in one game, so my guess is 4.
Well, yeah, it was a poor guess. I would have to. I am a stats guy, but I need them in front of me to speak eloquently about it. But
Isha, don't delete it. Move on. All right.
Yeah.
No,
he's coming back. Quinn Olson, 4 and 17 for 21. He's out eligibility, no longer able to play college hockey. Connor McMenamin came in from Penn State, was one of the captains at that team, came in, earned an alternate captain. 6 and 15 at the defensive position here, out due to eligibility. Aaron Pionk, great player in his own right. This is like his 6th year ever playing the defensive position. Will be his 6th year, I think. So still a lot to learn there. Made a couple of blunders and had a couple of pretty bad turnovers that led to some goals. Learned from those, improved throughout the year. 3 goals, 17 assists, 20 points. He's returning. He's who I think is going to be running their power play up top. I think he did already this past season, but he will be doing that again next year. I'm almost positive of it. Looking forward to seeing him develop more. Fingers crossed we see him in a Wild jerseys at some point.
Well, there's the question. Will he play at least one game with the Minnesota Wild regular season?
I think he will.
Okay.
Not only because of the local talent aspect of it, but just because I think the Wild are going to need some cheap defensemen to play for them. Once these contracts are up and they're having to re-sign Kirill, and they've got these 2 other Russians that they're probably going to have to pay a decent amount to, and probably a good amount of free agent signings if they want to be competitive and actually make the playoffs again. They're going to need to find some cheap areas where they can utilize some, maybe not high risk is maybe not the right way to phrase it, but low cost, high ceiling players that they have to take a risk on and put them on the ice. And if it turns out poorly, they probably don't have a long shelf life there. But if they have a really good turnout in a couple of games there, your money's made on a rookie contract like that. So I think they do see him here. I can't say for how long. It's really going to depend on how he develops as a player these next 2 years.
He's a project, man. Like he's not going to be there anytime soon. But
no,
I'm with you. Like the potential is there.
Correct.
He's got a lot of work to put in, but the potential is absolutely there for him to get to that point.
Yeah, he's absolutely not his brother. He's not a carbon copy. He's his own player. He's learning a new position, like I mentioned. So it is going to take a little bit of a building process there, and he probably spent some time in Iowa, for being honest, as well. But I don't see a reason why he wouldn't be able to get there, just based on what I've seen him be able to do and him grow into in the short time that he's been a college athlete. So
yeah, I mean, if everyone was their brother, more people would know who Jared Stahl is, right?
Yeah, totally fair.
or the fun bar trivia question: do you know who the highest scoring sibling tandem is in NHL history?
It's not the Sedin twins, based on the way that you led that.
Oh, you don't know this one? I figured you would
know.
No,
I don't.
It's Wayne and Brent Gretzky because he had.
Oh, I did know this.
3 points.
Yeah.
And that plus Wayne puts them at number 1.
Yes. You know what? I did know this. And
people get
the fact that you say that.
They immediately say Sedin's when you're like, no, they're like, fuck you, that's wrong.
Yeah.
You know that Brett and Bobby aren't brothers, right? Like,
right.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. Well, let's move on. So we've obviously got to touch on the future, both expectations for next year and prospects that are coming in. But my first question leading into that, I posed a similar one to Maxon, talking about his St. Cloud State Huskies. What's the shelf life here for Scott Sandelin? Like, what would it take for you? And I'm not saying this coming season necessarily, unless you think it's that way, but like, what would it take for you to say, I want Sandy out?
We've had 2 poor seasons in a row based on the standards that he sets for himself and UMD fans set for the program. I think a lot of that has to do with age and number of people that were, freshmen 2 years ago, and injuries, and then injuries again this past season, with quite a few big ones right off the bat. Obviously, we're talking about Dominic James, who we thought was going to be one of the best, players on the team, leaving within the first 2 weeks, I think it was. Cole Spicer becoming ineligible to play after his, academic problems in the first half of the year, not able to join the second half of the year. Didn't enter the transfer portal, which says a lot about what he thinks of UMD and his commitment to the program and becoming a better student athlete.
Or that other schools were worried about his academics.
There's plenty of other schools that find ways to not be worried about academics. Let's be honest about that. There's something to be said about UMD's integrity and the ability to, enforce things like this and the expectations of their own players that other universities don't in force. So
I respect the
they're
spin
they're
zone. I
bettering
respect it.
they're bettering their student athletes by being tough on those rules and
Totally.
everything else as well. And then you get into Will Francis as well, having the cancer and everything else go on there. It's one of those things that is a tough pill to swallow, or a tough one to take, especially, it was a returning one for him. So he did come back. I think he played, a couple of minutes in that St. Thomas exhibition game, and that was just mostly because it didn't affect his eligibility, allowed him to get his feet wet. He was nowhere near full strength at that point, still in the middle of trying to gain some strength back on the rebound of getting just back to being a healthy individual, let alone an athlete at that point. So if he's able to, and fingers crossed that he is, best wishes to him there. If he is able to come back and join the team again next year, it's immediately better. Same thing, Dominic James. It's immediately better. We've got a ton of people coming in that are immediately better. And, we talked about some other guys leaving. There's only a couple others that I would like to mention. And that's, the only people that hit the transfer portal and go somewhere of note. And that's Notre Dame. I think he's got family ties there. I don't know if it's his sister that's there. I think it is.
I don't like winning. Yeah.
Yeah. They're not going to be an issue. Zach Stayskull. Yeah. Zach Stayskull entered the portal shortly, withdrew his name, didn't feel right about playing for another university. Says a lot about his commitment to the program and, being a Northern Minnesota kid. Not at all surprised by it. He's going to go over.
Like threatening kids that go into the portal. That's what I'm gathering from this.
No, not at all. It's a different thing altogether. He doesn't enjoy the portal. I'll say that. There's been a lot of comments about his, frustration with the portal and the challenges it presents to universities, hockey programs in general, coaches, like the whole system there. Yeah. And then you throw NLI money and everything else on top of it.
It's turning into a whole joke now. Like it's basically going to be like minor league professional sports, especially when we welcome in the CHL, right?
Correct. And that's a whole can of worms as well.
I don't know. I feel like you, of all people, though, should love the inclusion of the CHL kids, because you are begging for Pac-12 teams to have teams.
Correct.
That's the path.
It 100% is. I do want Pac-12 teams. Well, there is no more Pac-12. It would be more Big Ten teams.
They'll be Big Ten. Maybe the Big Ten can actually get to 10 now.
Yeah, they've had enough struggles. I was shocked that they wouldn't let Arizona State in. They declined their.
That was weird.
Their application. Yeah, but we'll take them in the NCHC. They're gonna have they've got a great program. I think they learned their lesson this year.
They don't have Johnny Walker or Lemieux's kid anymore though. So what is there?
They learned their lesson on having to have strength of schedule mean something. You can't just beat a bunch of nobodies and have rights to a playoff spot. But I think they'll be good. So
yeah. So Sandelin, answer the fucking question.
Yeah, sorry, Sandelin.
What would it take for you to say I want him out? Is it 2 more bad years?
I think it's 2 more bad years.
Never want him out. What?
No,
what do you do?
I think it's 2 more bad years in a row. And bad is what we were talking about this year. We're talking sub 500 bad. If you're a 500 team, especially in the
missing the postseason, sufficient for bad, not making the national tournament at all, or you miss it and still have a good year.
I think you can miss it and still have a good year, especially in the NCHC. We saw St. Cloud State this year. They finished 16. They had a good year overall. I mean, they were ranked more weeks than not. I mean, they had a good season. They just missed it because of cuts and lower seeds winning their conference tournaments and whatever reason. So I wouldn't say that St. Cloud this tarnished the reputation of Brett Larson because they missed the postseason. It was just one of those years that they didn't make it. So I wouldn't say that missing the postseason would necessarily be a bad season, but being sub 500 for sure is a likely indicator that was a bad season. But just, I don't know. It's like like Congress said, you don't know what it's like porn. You don't know it until you see it. You just know it when you see it. That's how you define a bad season.
I love that quote too. I was not expecting it to come up in this episode, but it's and you see it.
Yeah, it's one of those things, man. So yeah, I think 2 more really bad seasons, and it's going to be a much tougher conversation. But I really don't see that happening with one of the best recruiting classes that we've seen in UMD history, and that's a lofty thing to say, seeing what came out of here in the last 5, 6, 7
It's a
years.
magical segue, though. Let's hear it. Talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to go name recognition first, or do you want to go, ties to UMD in the local area first? Because I can
Just
spin it
talk
both
dirty
ways.
to me, baby.
Yeah. Let's go Callum Arnott. You might recognize that last name. Jason Arnott is his uncle.
Heard of him?
Played for the Penticton V's, forward. I think he played both center and winger, so a versatile forward there.
Or
Obviously,
indecisive.
no, I think versatile is more than likely what we're talking about there. I think he probably prefers being on the winger as far as scoring opportunities go, but he's certainly got the size and ability to play just about anywhere that he wants to. I'm just pulling up elite prospects here so I can figure out exactly what his size is, because I think he was 6'2", and we're going to get there in 1 second. But obviously the name legacy, everybody wants that name legacy, because you always think of the absolute ceiling for some of these players, and sometimes that's true, sometimes that's not. With Callum Arnott, I think it is more than likely true, just based on what we've seen this past season. It was 54 games played, 27 and 26 for 53 points. We're talking about a point per game player, and it's not one of those things that I see changing all that much. So looking forward to seeing what he can do at the college level. Here we go. Finally got up here. Oh, nope, that's for this past season. Whatever.
I thought you were talking about the goal that just happened in Rangers Panthers, because oh my god, and god damn it, why does Russo have to be covering this? Because I'm subscribed to like his posts on Twitter, and of course he's like a good 40 seconds ahead. So I just see Alexi Lafreniere goal. I'm like, tie game, and it's like, it's still 2-1. God damn it, Russo! What the fuck?
I do the same thing. I have to mute my phone when I've got the score app for anything that I'm watching on streaming service. If you're not watching, like, literally,
but I'm watching
cable,
live TV. It's on cable, and he's still 40 seconds ahead of me.
Yeah, that's tough. Then you got to mute that for the time being.
I just have to like undo it, but then like I'll forget to resubscribe, and then in the morning there's gonna be like big news about Marco Rossi being traded, and then now I'm an idiot. So whatever. I'm over it. Okay, so that's one.
That's one. Let's go the local-ish route now. Zam Plant and Max Plant.
That's
okay. I'm not going to save them for the end. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Local-ish. Hang on. Talk Zam to me.
Zam Plant. I know that you're looking forward to this one. A Pittsburgh Penguins draft pick, 2004 born, undersized, admittedly 5'10", 170 list, which means he's probably 5'9".
Legal midget. Yep.
Well, okay. Well, that's a bit dramatic when we're talking about hockey players.
So basically, the way it works on Judd's Buds, our prospect show, if you're below 6 foot, you're a legal midget. If you're above 6 foot, you're actually 7 feet tall. Like there's no in between. That's just how everyone views it. We don't feel that way. We are expressing what everyone else says.
You work on the pass-fail scale, which is insane. But okay,
pass-fail based on height.
Okay, yeah. 57 games
looking
played.
For a man in finance.
Well, you found one here. 26 and 45, 71 total points. Lit the world on fire there in Fargo. You know what? I was going to talk about Max. I want to talk about Harper Bentz on the same team as him. Oh. I think they were both second team all USHL. I don't know if that's true or not, but take my word for it. It is true. I'm doubling down. It's absolutely true. Harper was 58 games played, 2019, 39 total points. So it doesn't have as illustrious of stats or as outstanding stats, but still an incredible player. Obviously was a big part of that. Both of those played for the Fargo Force, won the Clark Cup, best team in USHL history, 59 wins. Having two of them come to UMD and have that immediate chemistry, I think is going to be huge. And I think we were waiting on Harper Bentz to have the actual, commitment to coming next year. I didn't know if he got that official invite or not, but after that season, I can't imagine a reason why he wouldn't be here. And I'm doubling down again that they both make an appearance for UMD, and hopefully I don't know if I want to say hopefully a lengthy one, but hopefully we get at least 3 years out of both of those guys, and they take their time to develop a little bit. But looking to see them keep that same type of output. Obviously, it's not going to be that level, but that same energy for UMD in the future, and specifically next year.
It's funny though to say, like, I hope they're a 3-year player. I hope that they develop a little slower. It's almost like saying, I hope their freshman year fucking sucks.
No, I hope their commitment to the program is strong enough to keep them around.
You're not saying that, but that's just like how it kind of comes off. It's like, well, if they develop slower and they're going to be here 3 years, that means freshman year is probably not great.
Yeah, no, and that's certainly why I'm tiptoeing around it a little bit. Is I want them to be around, and that's one of the reasons why I say Zam is a little bit undersized as far as what you would expect from the prototypical design of a today's NHL player, but there's plenty of time to grow. And if we're being totally honest, as long as your quads are massive, I don't think anybody cares about how tall you are. So just hit the weight room.
Tell Marco Rossi that.
Well, hey, Marco Rossi's getting a lot more respect now than he did at the beginning of last year.
Not from fucking Bill Guerin, but yes, fair. All right, moving on. Who else we got?
Yeah, talking about Zam, we're going to talk about Max Plant now. He's draft eligible this year. I'm excited to see where he goes. I think it'll probably be.
Who is better for their age?
Only one of them got the invite to play on the national team development program. Let me rephrase that. Only one of them took the invite to play on the national team development program, and that's Max Plant, and he was there this past year. 51 games played, 15, 46, 61 total points. Had a little bit of an injured streak in there as well, so could have been even better than that.
Are you saying that Zam is dumb? Or
nope.
Like, what's your point of saying that one turned it down but one went? Like, what?
I didn't even say turned it down. I just don't know whether or not he actually got an invite or not, because from name recognition alone, I would imagine that he probably got a look. And
maybe he paved the way. Maybe he was so good that they're like, well, we got to invite this Max kid if he's anything like Zam.
Well, here's what I'm gonna say that's gonna blow your mind.
Ooh.
I think Victor Plant, who's younger than both of them, and obviously not anywhere near even accepting a college look at this point, I think he's going to be the best of those three, just based on everything that I've been reading so far. And he's in Chicago with his dad right now, but that's a name to keep an eye on. Yeah,
Victor Plant commits to the University of St. Thomas.
No shot. No shot.
What would you do?
I would welcome the opportunity to watch him play UMD twice a year, because he won't be there until well after they're part of the NCHC. But there's absolutely no chance that he makes a St. Thomas run. If anything,
that would be awesome. I would be so happy though. Like as an outside viewer, not anything against UMD or anything like that. More just like, if it's not my team, I cheer for chaos.
Yeah, hey, totally fair. I think I probably fall into that same category.
I cheer against Wisconsin and North Dakota. Like Minnesota teams, like, sure, if you're playing against the Gophers, I cheer against you. But like otherwise, like I don't cheer against Minnesota teams. Like I want Minnesota to be the state of hockey. But if chaos is a path and it doesn't hurt the Gophers, chaos every time. Give me the flaming Elmo gif.
Yeah, I mean, I think I largely agree with that sentiment. Like in the postseason, I'm one of the. I feel like I'm in the minority of UMD fans, where I'm just like, I want Minnesota to make it. Like I want,
you want the Gophers to be good.
I do. Like I
go for the other four teams.
I will only if they're the last remaining team standing will I root for St. Cloud. Minnesota State is.
So you hate St. Cloud more than the Gophers?
Oh, for sure. No doubt.
Okay.
Again, I'm in the minority.
Like rivalry, but I am shocked to hear that, because
I am in the minority.
It's generally little brother syndrome where everyone hates the Gophers, and for a while there, like it was pretty level playing field for a good 6 or 7 seasons. We're back to the point where Minnesota is very much on top, and
for sure.
we can take a quick pause. Like, what are the chances of them winning a natty this year? with the acquisition of Matthew Wood and keeping most of their guys that were like literally they only lost the guys that could not stay.
I have admittedly done next to no research on who other teams have been able to keep. But I would say there's no doubt in my mind that they shouldn't make the Frozen Four. And at that point, you've got, in my opinion, a 50-50 shot at winning, which is insane to say.
At home. Jimmy's at home.
Yeah, it's insane to say because, it should be a 25% chance. But with a team like that, once you make it to that stage, I think that it's going to be really tough to compete with that. And, you've got a lot of guys that are hungry to prove that, sticking around was the right choice. And they're going to be one of the teams to beat next year, no doubt about it.
So outside of the Gophers, let's just say that they're not even a team that exists.
Sure.
Which Minnesota team do you think has the best chance to be in a Frozen Four in the next 2 or 3 seasons?
If you're going to give me 3 seasons,
again, like look at it sequentially. Like if you say UMD gets there in 3, but someone else gets there in 1 or 2, like I want you to like who gets there first.
Okay. I don't think St. Thomas is going to get there because they're still ineligible next year. Oh, yeah. Bemidji's not going to get there. Minnesota State is not going to get there.
Look at you, Minnesota State. That's awesome.
I almost stumbled. I don't know if you heard it. I almost said Mankato State.
Minnesota.
Yeah, Minnesota State. And then you get down to Minnesota, St. Cloud, and UMD. And so I think, St. Cloud has some decent team or decent players coming in, but they're losing, their large collection of Finnish studs. They still have another one coming in as well, but they're losing
miniature Bufflin coming in.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's not a scoring threat. So I think it's between, if we're not talking about Minnesota, it's between UMD and St. Cloud. So
and the way you're limping into this, it sounds like you just don't think anyone besides the Gophers has a shot in hell for the next 3 years.
No, if we're going all the way to 3 years, I think it's UMD without a doubt. I think if all of these players stick around for 3 years, I would be shocked if none of them
will they
see a Frozen Four.
The track record is that your good players leave right away. Steeves, Howard.
Brett Hull stuck around for 2 years, technically.
Yeah, and then he has an asterisk Stanley Cup, so that's fun.
Oh, no, that's an absolute rightful win of a Stanley Cup.
Look how small that is on my screen right now. I can still see the asterisk within the frame.
No, absolutely not.
Poor Buffalo.
No, I think UMD has it. And I'm to touch on some of these other players. Jason Shagabe, another one, played for Green Bay Gamblers, 62 games, 55 points, almost a game or a point a game player. Mr. Hockey.
Is he a bad locker room guy though? Like, do people not like him if he can't even get his fucking nephew to join him?
His nephew grew up sleeping in North Dakota pajamas. It's the same reason that who's that loser that left the Islanders?
He's John Tavares.
Yes, that loser that left the Islanders to go home. He's John Tavares. And how's that worked out for him?
Is he a bad uncle for letting his nephew fucking wear North Dakota pajamas?
Oh, absolutely not. It's one of those things that you want that competition that, you didn't get to play against him before, and now you do. So it's one of those things that can drive both of them.
So you're saying he's graduated from uncle to daddy. Got
it. Maybe. Yeah, we'll find out. On that,
so fun though, dude.
He's great.
We met up for that tourney. We were sitting together, and dude, he was a delight to watch. Don't get me wrong, like
correct.
Carson Pilgrim, sick player.
Yep.
Dude, the way Shagabe sees the ice and creates, Pilgrim needs a Shagabe. And granted, he's going to North Dakota. He will have several Shagabes, but Shagabe was just. I gravitate more to that kind of player than I do to the Carson Pilgrim, who, again, minus the fishbowl, sick player.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to wear that in North Dakota, so it'll be maybe a change of.
Disgusting. Who wears a fishbowl? Why? What possesses?
I have to wear a fishbowl when I play hockey now, but that's because I got a puck to the dome right before my wedding.
You could wear a cage.
Nah.
but like there's no way you can tell me that Carson Pilgrim grew up wearing North Dakota pajamas and a fishbowl to bed.
Oh, absolutely.
That's just like ridiculous. I hate fishbowl so much.
I think the last time the fishbowl was seen in North Dakota was 2016, but I could be wrong. But
he's definitely, don't get me wrong. Carson Pilgrim, sick player, not good enough to reinstitute the fishbowl to North Dakota. Sorry.
Not yet. We'll see.
Yeah, what if he waited until like his junior year? He's like, all right, guys, I've earned it. I'm putting this back on.
I don't even know if it's a him decision. It might be a coach's decision there, but we'll see.
And if you're good enough, it can always be your decision.
That's true. That's
all right. Totally I'll just transfer to Denver. Thanks.
I don't know that anybody's gonna do that over a fishbowl. You get ridiculed enough as is, especially in college. I mean, people
but for a natty versus a first round exit, I would.
True. On that same Green Bay team, Blake Becken, incredible player, another forward, 47 points in 60 some odd games. But probably the biggest and most looked forward to prospect, despite the fact that we've talked about incredible players to this point. The Slovak, Adam Gajan, he's been an incredible piece for that World Junior team 2 years in a row. Kept him in a lot of games, against Canada, against the U.S.
How does Sandelin even find that fucking kid?
Great question. I'm not sure because
I need to understand it.
Yeah, he finds all of these players. We're talking about, Staylock. There was, Hunter Shepard.
I'm talking a Slovak goalie. How does he find that?
Great question. I mean, he's got to have some connection somewhere. And, I will say he hasn't had the same level of defenseman or play in front of him in Green Bay as he did during the World Junior Tournament, because in Green Bay, sub 900 save percentage, 3+ goals against average. It's pretty mediocre stats in terms of what you would expect from somebody that gets those accolades. But those accolades come from those World Junior tournaments where you've got the best of the best for all these countries as far as scoring power goes. And he's got a 916 save percentage and 2.5 goals against only, and all these other things that kind of prop him up to be, what you expect more at that collegiate level. So I think he's going to jump right in and compete for that starting position. And it's Sandelin after all, so he's going to want to play two goaltenders there. So we'll see how that turns out with him. And Clayton Knapp is the other guy that's coming in as well. He's out of Bismarck, I believe, with a 921 save percentage and sub 2.5 goals against average. Again, not necessarily the same level of competition, but a good resume overall for him as well. So those guys are a good 1-2 if they're the ones that end up getting the starting job there as well. So I would expect that, but we'll see how it shakes out, because it's always a competition with Sandelin, and whoever's playing the best is going to get those starts. So
fair. Now, is there anyone else key that we need to touch on for recruits?
Ty Hansen, I would be remiss not to mention him. Adam Kleber, I would be out of my mind not to mention him. Both defensemen, one from Sioux City.
Good. It's crazy.
Yeah. One from Sioux City, one from the Lincoln Stars. It's going to be not necessarily a scoring threat from the defensive line, but it's going to be more of a scoring threat than it has been from that blue line position for UMD, just because those guys have had great production in those younger leagues, and I expect that to continue at UMD. And again, they've played with some of these same guys as they were growing up or in some of these other leagues, and I expect them to have some of that chemistry right away coming in, versus meeting a whole bunch of new people and having to figure out how each other plays on the ice. So having that's going to be massive when you have, I think it's 11 freshmen coming in next year, which was the bane of UMD's existence 2 years ago, but we're doing it again and bringing in another good stock, but a lot of really young players here. So I think it's going to be incredible to see them develop as the season goes on, but I really hope and think that they can produce a lot more than maybe the squad 2 years ago did. And fingers crossed, UMD has key players stay healthy for the duration of the year this year for the first time in what feels like forever.
There we go. Before we wrap with just expectations / predictions for this upcoming season,
yep,
I have to mention the tragedy of this season, because not only it obviously hits close to home for you for several reasons, but it sounds crazy. And like, I don't know, people would be weirdos and say like, I'm hopping on the bandwagon of tragedy. Like I actually loved this player. Like I got weird backstory to it, but dude, Adam Johnson, like just take a minute, talk. We don't have to talk about what happened. Everyone knows. If they haven't, they can fucking Google it. But like, just talk about like what we've seen from his boys in the NHL that rallied around it, what we saw at Duluth, what we've seen in Hibbing, like just whatever you'd like to say about Adam Johnson.
Yeah, Adam Johnson was another one of those guys from Hibbing, always wanted to play for UMD. It's the same thing. Sandelin was from the same area, and it was the same path. Perunovic following those same footsteps. I guess it was kind of the reverse, but the same progression as far as career goes from Hibbing to UMD. Incredibly talented skater. I think he was probably one of the fastest I've seen in a UMD jersey. And not only was there speed, but there was also precision that came with it. And, it's not something that you see very often at the collegiate level. Obviously helped them win a ton of games at UMD. And because of that, he saw immediate success and was able to play at the professional level, both in the US and overseas as well. And deserved every minute of the attention that he got there. It was obviously a big figure at UMD when he was playing there, but also came back in the offseason and, was a part of the program, continuing throughout the rest of his life as well. And, he obviously wasn't able to be there a ton during the season, but anytime that they had, unscheduled off-season workouts or you're bringing in some alums, he was always one of the guys that was there and able to share some of the stories and be a pillar of what UMD kind of built and was all about. And having that not be around anymore is a big toll for the program and everybody that kind of was familiar with him, but just the area in general. There's a ton of people that were on the team still that felt like they had a really close connection despite having never really played with him this much. It was a pleasure to watch him play, to see his impact on the team while he was there, obviously, but even after his passing, how much it meant to the guys, low height and a lot of the other guys playing with the neck protection, everything afterwards, just as precaution to their own right, but also kind of remembering him in general. His jersey hung up behind the bench for at least every home game, but I think most of the away games as well. I can only watch the ones that were televised, and I think I saw it up for every one of those. And a big blow to UMD as a whole, to Northern Minnesota really as a whole, and just every story that you heard about the guy was awesome. Couldn't have asked for a better figure for Hibbing or for UMD to kind of look back on pretty fondly as not only a hockey player but a human being.
Yeah, man. And I mean, I don't know about you, but like growing up playing hockey, the day that I was allowed to not wear a neck guard, I threw that thing in the fucking trash. I was so happy. I don't even understand. I can't comprehend why this little thing around my neck bothered me so much. I promise you, if I'm fortunate enough that my son wants to play hockey, which I'm not the psycho parent that's going to make him play hockey. Like, God, just please don't be a fucking basketball player. That's all I ask. But like for real, he will absolutely wear a fucking like Kevlar vest neck guard. Like it's scary as shit, dude. And so you saw me and my brother, we're lunatics when it comes to the state tourney. Like it's just like we don't even follow the regular season all that much. It's just like the tourney is a ritual in and of itself. And for over a decade, he and I did fantasy hockey with the tournament. We would always go to Tom Reed's the morning of. We would draft our teams for the Friday slate of games, the semifinals, the best set of games, period.
Oh, yeah.
And we would do fantasy hockey and we'd bet something on it. A lot of times it was like either a barrel theory or a bad weather, like growler, whatever. And one year I was all about this Adam Johnson kid from Hibbing. And like, my brother was surprised that I took him so early in the draft, which, like, let's be real, it was a reach. Dude puts up a fucking hat trick in the game we're watching and, like, just coasts me to my victory. And, like, ever since that, I'm like, fuck, this guy's fun. He was a sophomore in that one. And, like I said before, not someone that cheers against the other Minnesota schools unless they play against the Gophers, but like he was one of the guys that I actively rooted for with Duluth. Then he goes on and plays for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Like, this is a guy that, like, I'm not going to pretend that I followed him with a microscope, but like I always had a place in my heart for him. And then when I saw this news of, some Duluth alum that had this happen, I'm like, oh fuck, that sucks. And I saw the name, I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Like, it was just like the weirdest, like, full spin epiphany. Like, dear Lord, this is the smallest fucking world. Like, I didn't know what to do with the information. And again, I don't know the guy. I can't pretend that this is a tragedy that has like shaken me to my core, like his teammates, his family, his communities, but it just fucking sucks. Like,
it was a big loss.
Member of our community go down.
Right. Yep. Big loss for the hockey world. Like I said, for Minnesota specifically, anywhere from Duluth all the way up to Hibbing, follow Highway 2 if you really want to go to the rest of the Northland. He was always bopping around up there anyway. So the wide reach of his kind of impact was seemingly never ending because everybody I talked to seemed to have some story one way or another.
Talking about him, man. But that's awesome. That's how you know we had a good one. That's how you know we lost an awesome guy. But
absolutely.
Just feel for his family and friends. It sucks.
Totally.
To go from sad to sadder, Veech, break down what's this coming season going to look like for Duluth.
Well, they play Stonehill, so there's 2 wins. Let's.
I am bookmarking those games. That's going to be so fun. If either of those are close, it's going to be really enjoyable for me.
Let's lighten the load, a little bit on there. It's really weird. They do play Bemidji again this year, but they play them the first game of the year for one game, and then they play some nobody.
Is that a game or an exhibition?
I think it's labeled as a game right now, and then they play them again only one game on New Year's Eve. So it's like a really odd.
Wait, New Year's Eve college game?
Yeah, December 31st. I had to double check.
Am I like a lunatic for thinking that doesn't ever happen?
I think it's just because it lines up as far as like a Friday, Saturday schedule goes, but it very rarely happens because they play December middle of December here against Arizona State, and then they have one New Year's Eve game against Bemidji, and then they don't play again until I guess it's the following weekend.
Wait, wasn't your biggest gripe that ASU doesn't align properly for your winter calendar?
Oh, it doesn't. Yeah, they play them in Arizona in November. So, like, it is an away game. I can go see Arizona, but it's in November. It's like
late or early.
Like, sorry, they play
late November or early November?
December. I'm looking at my schedule here, and
that's not bad. Like, don't get me wrong, January, February is better, but December's not the worst.
Correct. I just want them. Selfishly, I want them to play them in January or February or sometime. Yeah. And they do play them in February, but it's in Duluth. Like, I just want those two flip-flopped. Like, I want the Valentine's Day game in Arizona State, not in Duluth.
God, you're so lucky you have a cool wife that would actually want to do that trip for Valentine's Day.
No, I would have to her to do that. I would have to trick her into it. Really? We're going to Arizona for Valentine's Day.
I thought she was like big into hockey.
She is big into hockey, and she's a really good sport about going and watching all these games. And
as soon as you said really good sport, never mind, I got it. Message.
She will never actively seek them out herself, but she will always participate if I'm already actively involved in them. So
fair.
She's great. I love everything about her. She's wind beneath my wings. All the nice things that you can say about your own wife.
All the cliches I can read off. No, dude. Yeah, she's
yeah. Best person I know from everybody that has ever met her will say the same thing. So, but yeah, I don't know that the Arizona State game would be a travel destination for her, especially since we're still trying to do a really delayed honeymoon here. So
Arizona's I can't even sell that. That's awful.
No. It's a great vacation spot. We were just there last year for another friend's wedding.
What's the honeymoon destination?
So we're still trying to decide between Japan, or we've been to Europe. Both of us have been to Europe a couple of different times, both separately and together. So we would love to go back, but I really want to go see somewhere else.
I've heard
Japan is
Japan's awesome, especially if you're into the food.
correct.
I'm going to give you a wish list of bourbons that you're going to mule back for me because they're real cheap and real accessible over there. But
Correct.
I mean, Japan's sweet, but holy shit, yeah, you're going all in. Cool.
Well, yeah, it's either that or the other one that we talked about was New Zealand, which is equally far
across. The other one's Wisconsin Dells. Pretty cool. Going to splurge. No, New Zealand would be sweet. Yeah, dude. Joe Smith was just there, and he raved about how cool it was out there. Like it. I want to go there, and actually, New Zealand now I'm on board with. It sucks. I grew up like the dream destination was going to Australia.
Sure.
And I've learned more and more about all of the things that can so easily kill me out there. And I'm just like, I'm not going to fucking like, there's spiders as big as my head that are just in the hotel, like bathroom. Nope. Yeah. Snakes coming up the toilet. Nope. Kangaroos are going to beat the shit out of me. Nope. Like, get me out. I'm not there. No.
Hard pass on most of Australia. I will say most of that stuff is in Perth or on the western side of Australia, and not necessarily in Sydney or anywhere else. But still, I totally agree with you. It's
none of those things exist in Minnesota. I'll stay here.
We deal with the blizzards and the cold and all this other garbage.
The cold's easy.
Yeah, but we don't like. We've got like 3 poisonous things in the entire state. One is copperheads, which are only in the southern part anyway. One is brown recluse, which are rare, largely. And then I forgot what the other one is, but like
the other is Minnesota sports. Yeah.
Well, you're not wrong there. You asked about the outlook for next year. I said two games guaranteed because we had Stonehill on the schedule. We start with UMass Lowell, who had a down year this year. I think they have another down year next year. Fingers crossed we can win both of those. We do play Minnesota again. We do play North Dakota again twice this year instead of just once like we did previously. We get Miami twice though, so that's 2 sides of different coins. Denver we only play once. Western Michigan we only play once. Omaha we only play once. That's an insane schedule. Colorado College we only play once. What's happening to my NCHC here? Alaska we play, and
Alaska. I need I need someone to adopt that video that they made.
Oh, the bear in the jet.
Dude, if the Wild came up with something like that, I would be so jacked up for every game.
Yeah, you get to use, and they've got a couple of sick, gifts. I don't know who made these for Alaska. Whoever did it did an incredible job, and I hope works for a professional franchise somewhere. But like, it looks like a lightsaber, but he makes the stick out of laser light or whatever. That's another great one. But yeah,
I feel like that whoever did that was like 5 years before their time.
Oh,
5 years later, they would have been snatched up immediately. But at that time, everyone's like, "You're a fucking weirdo."
Yeah. Right, they're sick. Just first impressions. Looking at the schedule here,
does Duluth make the postseason or not?
They'll be a bubble team. I don't know. I can't confidently say that they'll make it, but they'll be a bubble team.
That's the Minnesota Wild cop out. Do they get in or not?
I think it'll take them a year. I don't think they make it this first season in.
So they're on the edge, and then the following year they're firmly in.
Yes, I think they will. I'll say this. I think they finish in the top 16 of the pairwise and get knocked out because of other teams. So I think rightfully they should be in.
Veech talking about pairwise. Who could have even imagined?
Yeah, it has to hurt me one more time. So
yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but yeah, I think it'll be close to a 500 team with potential upside. Yeah, I'm feeling good about this. There's going to be a lot of really fun games that I'm looking forward to, and early too. I mean, Minnesota, you and I have a date.
Are you trekking up there with me? Are we going up?
Yeah, October 18th, 19th. It's an early one.
I love it. So the wife and I, she loves fall Duluth, right?
Perfect time. Yeah.
And we got married end of September. So like that's kind of been our annual trip. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, let's just go up there. She can see the colors. I can have a shit ton of really good beer.
Yeah.
Which again, whatever I say negative towards Hermantown and Duluth, just to make Veech like squirm, like per capita, no better beer city ever, in my opinion. It's awesome.
It is good.
So yes, we need to figure that out. We'll hit up one of the breweries up there. Maybe we'll do some kind of live show or some nonsense, but
For
that
sure.
trip needs to happen. I'll just convince her to delay the anniversary trip a couple weeks. We're good.
Yeah,
But
I'm absolutely in. I'll take you around
That's
to
a
whatever
fun
I can take you to. And
oof.
yeah, I mean it's gonna be, I'll tell you right now, it's gonna be a little late for fall colors. You're gonna get mostly browns and purples and maybe some dark reds.
We're
But
gonna cut that part. She
don't
can't.
tell her.
She
Yeah.
doesn't listen to this shit. She's okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that'll be a really good one, I think.
Oh, that will be fun. We've ragged this puck very far. I thought you
Yep.
would have gotten called out by the wife to do some kind of chores by now, but look at
She
you.
did just call me on the phone and she's trying to get me
All
up
right,
and recap the Wolves game. But
oh no, did they win? Did they lose?
they were up by 3 with 13 seconds left. So I don't know. She's
Oh,
gonna
they
get me.
lost for sure. And Draymond Green's probably gonna talk mad shit because he's got
Yeah.
nothing left in his game. So why not talk shit about other people?
Yeah. We'll find out when I get up there.
All right. Well, it's all fun. Well, you get to the wife. Everyone, this has been, again, the 4th of 6 installments here of MNCAA season recaps. Your UMD Bulldogs with your insider, Max Veech, Venny Viddy Veech on the X, Twitter. It's been fun, man. It's been a long.
It's been a great time. I haven't got the chance to sit down and talk hockey for a while, and I'm glad I got to sit
We
down
got
with
to hit a
you.
brewery soon, dude. It's been a minute.
Yep, I'm all settled for the most part in the new house here. So
For the most part.
any excuse I can get to get away and skip out on some of the remaining house projects that are on the list, I'm down for it.
Boom. All right. Well, we will catch you guys in the following segment with hopefully Mankato or Minnesota. We don't know. One of them will answer the call, maybe. We hope, possibly.
Yeah.
But again, thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel, subscribe to YouTube, whatever it is you do. And I guess, I don't know, it feels weird for me to say. You say it, Veech. Go Bulldogs.
Go Bulldogs. I'm going to clip you saying it so I can just play it later.